playing with confidence. Serves it inside 50.
Inside 50, good hands.
Drilling it into centre half forward. That was end-to-end football at its best.
Back-to-back goals either side of quarter time.
They have done it, the Bulldogs!
I'd fight somebody for you. There ain't no wall I will run through. In your corner when they're ringing the bell. Come hell or high water. I'd fight somebody for you.
Yes, hello WAFL fans. Welcome one and all to another big edition of Around the WAFL, hot off the heels of Round 7 of the Sullivan Logistics WAFL Premiership season and Round 8 of the ATCO WAFL W season. And the theme around the weekend was unbeaten streak snapped. Why? We'll talk more about that a little later on. Plus, we've got a huge lineup of guests coming your way. Bill Monaghan, the East Fremantle coach, will be joining us in just a few moments. And East Perth's match winner, Brooke Edwards, who kicked the winning goal against Peel Thunder in the WAFL W on Saturday. It's all thanks to Grant's Car Stereo, District Promotion, Sullivan Logistics and Front Row Screen Sport. And you're watching live on the Around the WAFL YouTube channel and your podcast service, a collaboration with the WA Sporting Hub. Paul Persick's my name, and I want to ask Ethan Roth, my right-hand man, welcome back, but where the hell have you been all week?
Thanks, Paul. Great to be back. Some would say I've been celebrating with the WAFL W and both the WAFL winning the state game a week ago.
I would not be surprised.
History-making day, so I'll leave that up to everyone's interpretation.
I think that kind of explains it, but no wonder. We're still celebrating the state game in South Australia. In particular, John Casey are still feeling the effects of the curse, if you know what I mean. But we've got a great show coming your way. Rothy, of course, is going to give out his Colts report as well later on. A couple of big wins on the Friday night in particular for South Fremantle and West Perth, and also reigning premiers Claremont. Rothy will talk about that a little later. Our top 3 plays of the week and the player of the year votes. But we're going to start a little solemnly, Rothy, because this may not have anything to do with WAFL directly, but earlier today, at the time of the recording, a man that transcends football and, who's inspired millions all around Australia left us today. The passing of the great Neil Danaher at age 65. What a hell of a fight he fought, and an inspiration to millions around Australia.
Yeah, inspiration doesn't do it justice, and he really fought to the end, didn't he? Brave, warrior who, leaves such a special mark, not only on the game, but Australia worldwide. Obviously, he was, Australian of the Year as well, which highlights how much impact he had outside of the game, and, he's going to be fondly remembered, and obviously it's very close to the Melbourne-Collingwood King's birthday clash, so no doubt some extra emotion there, but very sad day for many.
Great tribute by Swan Districts and the Perth Football Clubs also, who are doing their big freeze game on Saturday at Steel Blue Oval. A couple of football identities here in WA taking the slide, and it's going to take in a lot of extra significance as well on Saturday, and especially on the Queen's birthday Monday as well. Of course, for our WA fans, he was the inaugural assistant coach at Fremantle to Jared Neesham back in 1994-95, and also briefly as an assistant at the West Coast Eagles in 2013 at the time of his diagnosis. So we do send our condolences to all of the Danaher family, one of the great football families around Australia, and this show is dedicated to the memory of the great Neil Danaher. But let's get down to business, Rothy, as the great Neil would want us to, because East Fremantle, they are on the rise once again. They got into the winning vein against the West Coast Eagles, who were competitive up until three-quarter time, but a strong finish by East Fremantle paved the way for a 27-point victory, and their coach was happily relieved, no doubt about that, because it was a big challenge for the East Fremantle Sharks, but they rose to the challenge. Bill Monaghan joins us to kick things off here on Around the WAFL. G'day, Bill.
G'day, Paul. G'day, Rothy. Hope you're both well.
Yeah, likewise, mate. A great win over there at Goodgrocer Park on the weekend. It's good to see the boys back in the winning vein. A couple of tough results early on in the season, but to get a win against the West Coast Eagles and the way you finished off in that last quarter must have been the most satisfying thing to see.
Yeah, look, we've been pretty much up and down. We started the season pretty strongly, and then, we had a rough couple of weeks, and we needed the bye, and the bye came at a good time for us. So, allowed the blokes to refresh. We tweaked a couple of things over the 2 weeks off, and, we played a lot better brand of footy on the weekend, and, we know we've got to keep improving, and, there's some tough challenges ahead.
And against the West Coast Eagles side, who have been improving themselves this year. They won 3 games in a row not too long ago. Some impressive AFL players out there. Brandon Starstich was out there, Cooper Duff-Tyler as well. So you must have been pretty impressed by your side being able to match it with those AFL guys and come out that last quarter and really bring it home.
Yeah, look, they had some talent out there. Obviously, we're a little bit lucky. Brandon Starstich, that that looks great on paper, but, it's his first game for the year. He was on restricted minutes and, in a lot of ways, both West Coast and him were probably just hoping he got through the game. So, the big kid, Duff Tyler, he's going to be a talent. He's going to be, an exceptionally good player at the level above, and he was a handful. And Hewitt started well, and McRae was good. So they had plenty of talent out there, but that's just what you have to deal with. And I thought our blokes handled the situation pretty well.
Especially Jack Cleaver, he was magnificent. 31 disposals and 13 tackles, and you had great service in the ruck from Stranatica and on the ball Tom Joyce. Your midfield unit really clicked at the right time, especially having needed the bye during the state game week, and they came back into that East Fremantle side fresh as daisies.
Yeah, look, that was probably Luke's best game for the year. Jack's been in really solid form, and Tom, he's probably having his best season so far as well. So, it was good. Harry Marsh came back into the system after missing a couple of weeks. So, we thought, even though we lost Kyle Baskerville on the morning of the game to illness, I thought our midfield really stood up, and, it was a talented West Coast midfield brigade, and I think we handled it pretty well.
Oscar Smart has been a real revelation for you guys this season. He, catches the eye of those watching on. Tell us about his sort of impact in this team, and he doesn't need a lot of the footy to make an impact, so he must be thrilled with what you've been able to get in his first season at the club.
Yeah, look, Oscar is an extremely talented player. He's power and speed, and when he gets it right, he's a hard matchup. And probably his form has really been a barometer for where we are. Started the season really positively with 3 really strong games. I think it was 11 goals or something in the first 3 games, and then struggled for a couple of weeks, and he was back to his best. He was getting up the ground, moving well. He just when he's on with his competing. So it's not just about skill and ability with everyone, but in Oscar particularly, he just competes really well. His second efforts, his one-on-one stuff was really good. And, he kept challenging West Coast and hit the scoreboard himself and created some other opportunities for those around him.
Now, a win of that nature does set you up very well for the big derby on Monday. The WA Day Derby against South Fremantle, always a great tradition in WA football. What's going to be the messaging across the week to the boys? I know the Fremantle Derby, the WA Day Derby, the first one of the year, always is tough. South Fremantle have had an edge on you in recent years in that WA Day game. What's it going to be this time around in your efforts to break that WA Day hoodoo?
Oh, look, we just... our blueprint for winning is fairly simple. When we bring the effort and we compete at the level that's expected, we are generally competitive, and it hasn't always happened in derby. So that's the number one thing. South rebounding off last week, they had a disappointing loss. So they're going to be fired up, and we're back to Fremantle Oval again, which has been the home of the derby for about 4 or 5 years. It feels like for us. So we'll get down there. We'll put our best foot forward, and hopefully, we can play at our very best and challenge South, who will be on the rebound.
We can't wait for it. It's one of the great traditions in WA football. Bill, thanks so much for your time. All the best on Monday against the Bulldogs.
Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
That was the great Bill Monaghan joining us here on Around the Waffle as the Sharks build up to a massive derby on Monday week, the start of June at 1:10 live on Channel 7. Bill talked about, and gave a lot of credit to the Eagles because they provided a great challenge, didn't they, with all the AFL listed players that were there. But what's going to be so important for East Fremantle is how they rise to those challenges, especially in the last quarters where they've been a little bit 50-50, but they had a really good last quarter against the Eagles.
Yeah, we know that happens with young players and young developing sides. So, it'll be a challenge against South Fremantle, obviously coming off a loss themselves, which we'll touch on. But, I think they've got to just embrace it for those guys who haven't been as familiar with the derbies. They've got to embrace the big occasion that is derby football, because it's probably the closest atmosphere to a final that you'll get until September comes. And
a big crowd over there at Fremantle Oval, no doubt about that. We'll touch on those games after the break here on Around the Waffle. You're with Paul Persick and Ethan Roth for the Monday night recap show. It's all thanks to District Promotions, Front Row Screens, Sullivan Logistics and Grant's Car Stereo. We'll recap all the Round 7 action right after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the Waffle.
Valentine roads and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick-to-kick at every break. The Waffle is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the Waffle on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
Thanks for joining us here on Around the Waffle, Monday night recap show in full swing. Paul Bursick and Ethan Roth with you. You can check out our socials, Facebook and Instagram. We really appreciate all your feedback so far. And before we get to the recap, a huge thank you because we reached over 1,000 followers on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. So on behalf of all the team here at Around the Waffle, thank you so much for your support over these last few years since Around the Waffle began in 2023. And long may that support continue, Rothy. It's a great social presence.
Yeah. Big credit to you as well for steering the ship in that sense. So, yeah, people are getting around it and encourage anyone out there who hasn't hit that follow button to make sure they do, to not miss out.
Yes, of course, it's the best social content in West Australian football. You do not want to miss it. It is simply sensational. Facebook and Instagram is where you can check out all our content. Let's get to round 7, Rothy. Big round of football. A lot of big surprises in the Waffle competition that are starting to pop up as the ladder takes shape. And we're going to start off at Goodgrosser Park with East Fremantle, who were without their captain, as Bill Monaghan stated, due to illness, but with the return of Harry Marsh and the further improvement of their young squadron, they were able to rise to the challenge against a very gutsy West Coast Eagles to win by 27 points, 15-12, 102 to 11-9, 75. And this win is another sign of the growing maturity that's there at East Fremantle. It's slowly developing bit by bit, but they really showed it on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles had every chance to come out with this one, but East Fremantle said that they were going to be in control, and Jack Cleaver led it with 30 disposals. Thought he was really good, both offensively and defensively. Had 13 tackles to match it as well, and they adapted to no basketball, who adds a lot of sort of leadership, of course, but also, yeah, a maturity down there across half-back. Erdley and Joyce and company steadied the ship. So, yeah, they'll be really thrilled with that, especially how they finished out the game, because I reckon in past, East Fremantle, that could have been a game that they fumbled, but they didn't on this occasion.
No, they certainly did not. They finished off well, and their forward line functioned very well. Robinson got a couple of goals, so too did Leonard Marlin, who's back in the league side and really eager to make a statement. Also, Griffin Vladic booted a couple of goals, and Oscar Smart, he's continuing to prove that he is the big find of the competition with 3 goals, the former Essendon-listed player. He really took advantage of some great opportunities when the midfield delivered it up forward.
I've been quite surprised there hasn't been a little bit more talk about Oscar Smart in terms of mid-season draft interest.
Because that is tomorrow, isn't it?
Coming off Essendon's list, there's barely been any talk. And even, I know we won the state game, so of course that's not going to matter now, but I thought he would have been in the state team, at least the squad, which he wasn't. But I think that, gives him the opportunity to really focus in on East Freo, and those external things will continue to come if he puts a good foot forward.
That lack of attention that he's got heading into the mid-season draft may be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because as you stated, he wants to focus on, making sure East Fremantle succeeds, and being a critical part of that forward setup is obviously the reason why. I mean, 3 goals, that definitely provides an answer as to why he wants to be there across the season and put East Fremantle back into premiership contention.
Yeah, I mean, the distraction might not be a bad thing in terms of being able to zero in on East Freo. So he's a real barometer, as Bill Monaghan said. He really lifts the team and has a bit of swagger to match it.
The West Coast Eagles, to their credit, they really took it up to East Fremantle all throughout the afternoon. Okay, they had a big third quarter to get them back in touch, only 3 goals down, but they just ran out of legs in the last quarter, as has been the case. But the ruck combination of Flynn and Duff Tyler both were terrific. 52 hit-outs, and they supported each other through their follow-up work. I thought they were brilliant as well. The forward line, again, functioned in patches, though. Kernet with a couple of goals, Gross also with a couple going from midfield into attack, and Duff Tyler following up his work in the ruck, getting a couple of goals as well. So there's some more good signs for the West Coast Eagles with their AFL-listed players, and you're talking about the likes of Duff Tyler, Owies, Flynn, Gross and Tyrrell Dewar that could get a look in for the level above before too long.
Yeah, expect Cooper Duff-Tyler not to spend too much time in the WAFL. We know what he's been able to show in a short glimpse at AFL level, so a bit of a one-off perhaps as he was arrested the previous time. So, and I think I've liked it. They've kept Hewitt and Gross in there. You can be very tempted to bring them back into the AFL, but some good performances at WAFL level. Of course, they didn't win the game in the end, but another step forward. I feel like Gross has become a real goal-kicking midfielder. He has high numbers, but he makes the impact on the scoreboard. His pace is hard to miss. And, I think Finn McRae as well was among their best with 24 disposals as well, a real cog in the WAFL side that they've needed.
What about Brendan Starcevic? It was expected that he was going to get managed minutes. I reckon he managed them quite well. Get a 12 disposals, couple of marks, and lay down a couple of tackles. I think he's starting to really get back acclimatised with the Eagles setup. Okay, give him 3 or 4 more weeks to prove himself that he can play at AFL level once again. So this is a nice steady start. Only 12 disposals, but he can provide effect.
Yeah, as Bill said, they probably just wanted to get through the game. He's had so many concussion knocks, and it is a bit of a worry despite signing a multi-year deal at West Coast. And he's a 2-time lead, a back-to-back winning premiership defender, so we know he can play at the level. That's not a question. It's more just that continuity and making sure his health's in good order.
Absolutely. West Coast competitive, but East Fremantle got the points in the end, 27 points at the Good Grocer Park. Now we go over to Lane Group Stadium. A real spiteful game, this one, over there in Mandurah. Peel Thunder, though, they started right out of the gates with a 6-3 first quarter, and they never looked back. They were brilliant all throughout the afternoon. They may have taken their foot off a little bit and let East Fremantle make the margin, South Fremantle rather, make the margin a little bit more respectable, but the first half set it all up. 18-point winners, 13-10 to 10-10, and it was all down to those handy AFL selections. The return of Jago O'Meara didn't pay immediate dividends, but he made his impact. His presence was great. Sean Hunter down the back line. Hugh Davies also down back, and Jacob Hewitt in the middle, absolutely brilliant. And they had a great spread of goal kickers from Charlie Nichols to Corey Tregenza, who each kicked 3 apiece. For South Fremantle, however, that's a loss they'd like to forget.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously lost that game to Claremont. We thought it could just be a one-off, and I don't think many people would have thought that Peel Thunder would come out on top of, despite having those AFL-listed players. Jeremy Sharp with 34 disposals. How about Hugh Davies, though?
Oh, he was brilliant.
He has 20 marks next to his name in the back half. It's quite a stat, and it's up there in the all-timers, I
The
believe.
ball went his way a lot during that game, especially when South Fremantle tried to get a lot of forward-line penetration in that second half, but Davies was always right there. He read the play so well, and that's what makes him one of the more impressive defenders in the competition. And 20 marks, I believe that's the second most for any team, for any player at WAFL level. So an impressive achievement for Hugh Davies, but he made his mark.
Yeah, and I think any other key defender, that was the performance to get you straight into the AFL side, but Freo was so strong down there, so such a good backup option to have as well. So, they were across the board really, really well. And Jago O'Meara, as you said, coming back from injury, can't be too critical of his 12 disposals in a similar boat to Starcevic of the Eagles. But, I thought South Fremantle just left their run a bit too late.
You're absolutely right. But that first half, they couldn't get it out of the centre. Peel Thunder's fitness and their running pace just too strong in the end. When South Fremantle did get it out of the centre, they often turned it over, and they were a bit undisciplined as well, which is un-South Fremantle-like. They conceded a lot of high tackle free kicks, especially from the likes of Parker and Byron. I don't like singling out those players, but you just got to tell facts. And I reckon Byron and Parker might be in a bit of trouble for a couple of those as well. I reckon Craig White would not have been too pleased with the first 3 quarters. He would have been with the last, but they left their run too little too late, as he said, and they played some very undisciplined football. I think that's the worst South Fremantle performance I've seen in quite some time. But I'm saying that because they are a better side than what they were on Saturday, and they can use this as preparation for the Fremantle Derby. And they want to put a hiding on East Fremantle to prove that loss to Peel Thunder was just a one-off.
Yeah, it could be dangerous times for East Fremantle if South Fremantle get a good old rev up. A lot of their mids were down, sort of Matty Parker and even Lucas Robertson being a young.
Well, keep in mind, Parker did return to the side though. He'd just come back from injury.
Yeah, which again you can't be too critical. Tom Fletcher did as well. Probably was his absolute best, but they've been up for so long. So I mean, we can't be too critical, and they did show some fight to come back. So I don't think it's too much of a worry, but obviously they have lost more games than they did last year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 2 losses this season so far. Bit of a wake-up call, you would say, because the competition is starting to get tougher, and South Fremantle won't have it all that easy. Having said that, Jake Florenka again was South Fremantle's best with 26 disposals, but he just didn't have anyone going with him against a fit, disciplined Peel Thunder midfield rotation rotation.
Yeah, and we can't underestimate what the impact of those AFL players can do, but also their local players as well. As you mentioned, the likes of Jacob Hewitt perform well, Ben Hancock, Sean Hunter, Tardrew as well has really been, a revelation since coming over to Collingwood's VFL program.
Peel Thunder making a statement at home, beating the reigning premiers by 18 points. And speaking of beatings, this was an even bigger beating. Perth made it a day of celebration for their veteran Matthew Taylor, who played his 150th game, and it was a day to remember against West Perth. A 12-5 second half, setting up a massive 78-point victory, 21-15, 141 to 9-9-63. Perth's second highest score of the year. And after a couple of bad losses, even though it was against some low-quality opposition, this was a big win Perth wanted to have just to give their fans a bit of reassurance.
Yeah, they sometimes tend to have these big wins at home every so often. This was another case of that. Yeah, absolute demolition of West Perth. Would have been a good day to be Lockie Patton against your old side, kicking 5.
Yeah.
I know he's obviously versed him a few times now since leaving the club, so it's not as fresh, but still, West Perth having a little bit of sign of what they potentially let go. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Payton kicking a big bag. Johnson also getting amongst it with 4. Clark with 3. Their forward line was brilliant, and so was their midfield. Their midfield was polished as anything. They just knocked around the West Perth engine room, and they fired on all cylinders. Think about it, 63 to 36 inside 50s. That was the most telling number of the game, because the way Perth got it out of the centre was copybook stuff.
Yeah, it was, and high numbers to Corey Byrne, 37 disposals. Charlie Constable just doing Charlie Constable things. Brendan Parfitt starting to regather some of his best form. They just got on top. Luke Meadows and Kane Bevan battled hard. Going to be interesting as well if Kane Bevan goes in the mid-season draft. West Perth can't really afford it. Obviously, he's been such
I got a feeling he will.
There's been a bit of talk about it, so we'll have to wait and see.
I got a feeling he will. I just got a feeling that West Perth will lose Kane Bevan, but it's good for Kane Bevan to get that opportunity at the next level, because he's getting a lot of talk. 26 disposals in a side that got beaten by 78 points. It's very impressive. The way he just applied himself to the contest and the pressure he put on the ball carrier, 8 tackles to go with it as well. So he's saying to the AFL selectors, pick me, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a bit of talk about Will Tilby as well from Perth. Probably not as much, of a consistent run in terms of body of work, but who knows what happens with him here. 20 disposals as well, and 5 tackles to match it.
They were all brilliant, were they, Perth? The engine room again all played a collective role. Parfitt again, 26 disposals we talked about, and Constable, like you said, just doing Charlie Constable things, continuing to dominate the on ball. And apart from Kane Bevan and maybe Shane Nelson and Luke Meadows, who got over 20 disposals, it just didn't seem to click. There's still worrying signs out there at West Perth. Whenever they're getting the ball, they're often relying on individual efforts rather than playing a team brand of football. And okay, you're bringing in youngsters week in, week out, but this is still a bit of a worry.
It is, and not to say it's a wasted season by any means, but it obviously is going from bad to worse in terms of their win-loss record. So it'll be interesting to see, if they keep blooding youth or whatnot. Obviously, you still want that experience of young players and the experienced guys, but I think, as we've said many a time, they've got to have an eye to the future more than anything.
And they certainly would, but Perth, they've certainly got eyes for the future, eyes for a top 3 finish, and they certainly showed why they're going to be one of the sides to look out for come finals time, winning by 78 points over a subpar West Perth side. Let's go to Steel Blue Oval. Rother, you were at this one on the 7+ call, and this was a big game for Subiaco and Swan Districts. The winner, I said last week on the preview with Jordan McArdle, that the winner of this game would most likely set themselves up for a big mid-season charge toward a possible finals berth, and it was tight for 3 quarters, but gee, Subiaco, they just turned it on in the last quarter, 6-2 on the way to a 40-point win.
Yeah, it was neck and neck in the first half. We said on the call, Cam Romans could have gone down to a nail biter, but Subiaco, third quarter, they led by 17 points to the quarter time, but there was the fourth quarter, the start of it. They just took any chance of Swans coming back into their own hands and really came home strong in the end. So, probably not a total reflection of how the game played out with a 40-point margin, but credit to Subiaco for playing the better of the 4 quarters.
Well, they just had the fitter legs, didn't they, Subiaco, at the end there. Gyro and sensational. The Hickmott boys, as usual, terrific. Liam with 27, Will with 28. And Ben Sokol, he's in fine form at the moment. Kicked 5 goals a few weeks ago. Was brilliant in the state game. And then also, think about it, he kicked 3 goals too, and he took 7 marks inside 50. For a guy that came out of retirement at the start of this year, he's playing like he never left.
Yeah, and I guess when that's happening, it frees up a Jack Murray to kick up in 3 goals. Same with Ryan Borchett. So if you stop one of them, the other 2, either one of them is going to get on top.
Perfect 3-way attack, isn't it?
A real headache for opposition defences. I thought Will Collins, Jake Pisani did well, though. They held their own. I think Jake Pisani probably had his best game as well, which is highlighted by the numbers. So, you can't be too critical there. And I thought, they got that overlap run, Subiaco with the likes of McGowan. And I thought a real good move in the recent weeks. And it's kind of have been through circumstance with Greg Clark being out of the side. Marlon Corbett shift into the middle. He won a lot of clearances, really drove them out of the clearance, and he looks like he's been made for the midfield, which kind of been waiting for it this whole time. Why has it been hidden down back?
22 disposals he had, and he had 9 tackles and 8 inside 50s as well. So the move by Jared Schofield to put Corbett in the midfield in place of Greg Clark serving his suspension is a move that I reckon could enhance the Subiaco pace, if you know what I mean, because they're a fast-running side. Corbett's move into the midfield may increase that pace and, really make opposition midfielders really keep a close eye on the likes of Clark and Corbett.
Yeah, and it's going to be a good selection headache to have when Clark comes back, and even Taj Schofield, who's out of the side, will be as part of their best midfield mix. So, these wins really add up for Subiaco when they don't have their absolute stars, or some of them, out of the team.
A couple of Swans best, you talked about a couple of those that had that overlap run. Loftus had 20 and Zane True with 30. He's starting to get back into his best form. But Leo Steed, he's been getting plenty of talk, and a fine goal during the game, which we will highlight later on in our top 3 plays of the week. This kid can play. We've said that for weeks now, but we'll say it again. He can play.
Yeah, I think he's really making moves to even push his credentials as maybe our top pick at this year's draft. I know there's a long way still to go, and champs will determine a lot of that, but yeah, he's really adapted to WAFL footy seamlessly. 2 goals, had 13 disposals and 2 goals in the first half. Drifted off a little bit in the second half, but at 18 years of age, there's going to be those ups and those downs. And he just has footy smarts. He just knows where to be at the right place, right time, keeps the composure and finishes well. So he's the full package, I think. And anyone thinking that he doesn't have the size out there is proving them wrong by the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Pace does make up for a lack of size, doesn't he? He's got good leg speed. His running, carrying, his balance as well, just brilliant. And no doubt Leo Steed could be a future barometer for Swan Districts if he doesn't get picked up in the AFL mid-season draft or at the end of the season draft as well, so it could be a blessing in disguise for Swan Districts. I asked this with Jordan McArdle last week, and I'll ask you the same thing. With Subiaco winning, will this win set them up for a possible charge toward the final 5?
I think it can. I sort of still probably have in that 4th to 5th category. I don't know if they're at the level of a top 3 team, but I can see them playing finals and sneaking in there. But I think they're still maybe a little bit of a fraction away from those top teams. But you only have to qualify. We know in this competition, sure, top 3 takes an advantage. But I think in his first season back, Jared Schofield, would have taken finals, and there's a long way to go still. But I think to answer your question, yes, I do, but still a little bit of work to be done.
Well, of course, a big step is Claremont next on the WA Day long weekend. And speaking of, they had their centenary party on Saturday at Revo Fitness Stadium, the centenary game, but along came a bunch of hungry Royals to spoil the party, and they did that in great style too, with a big last quarter, winning by 39 points and handing a shell-shocked Claremont their first loss of the year. This is a statement win for East Perth.
Yeah, who saw this coming? So now everyone has lost a game in the competition, which may not be a bad thing for Claremont, but as far as this one, they wouldn't be too pleased because, East Perth came out all guns blazing and, had multiple contributors on the day. Jake Soutar was really good down back, I thought.
He was. He was sensational, and so was Kate Scray. He had 12 marks to go with his 22 disposals. Seb Kuek, I thought, played one of his best games in a long time, maybe since the reserves grand final of last year. A bit unlucky to be left out of the seniors grand final, but he had a point to prove in the reserves, and I think this was one of his best games. Hamer Brayshaw, again, brilliant, 23 touches and 10 marks. Since his return, he's really upended his workload and has upended his intensity. 10 marks and a couple of goals, including one that sealed the deal in the last quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Did it when it mattered most. And East Perth, they're a bit of an unknown for mine. I know I've said it in the past, but it's hard to know where they're really at. They have these wins, and then they sort of maybe take a step or two back. But, they put it up to who would have been the premiership contender or thereabouts in Claremont on the weekend. And, could go from bad to worse for Claremont. Obviously, they'll be happy, but Jasper Peace, bit of talk about him being out of the side through the mid-season draft tomorrow.
That's right. Obviously, Jasper Peace, he's been on the radar for quite a while, and, if he does get picked up, it's going to be a massive blow for the Tigers. He's been very valuable. But Claremont, they had plenty of contributors, and considering that they didn't have a lot of scoreboard pressure, what they did was relied on a lot of the contested ball, which worked until the last quarter. And you had Talon DeLacy, he had 18 disposals, but he was pretty well held inside that forward 50. Now, Sam Alvarez, again, magnificent. Zach Mainwaring, he continues to evolve. He's evolving step by step. Alex Pearce with 24 and Callan England with 27. But I think that contested ball can only work for so long against a side like East Perth, and I think they just waited for things to happen, and you can't be doing that in a game like this, no matter what the occasion. And this, I reckon, is a bit of a reality check for the Tigers.
It is, it could be. I think I was saying to you off air, I thought if they would have lost, it would have been a closer game, but quite convincing in the end. So don't want to read too much into it because they've been brilliant so far this season. But maybe it was just one of those ones where they they came and they rocked up and expected it to just work itself out.
One player we forgot to mention who had a big second half, Tom Graham. Big marks, big goals. He went on and kicked 3 and 6 marks inside 50. He's starting to find his groove again as that tall key forward for East Perth.
Absolutely. He's had a really good performance on the weekend. So hopefully, just more building blocks for him.
Absolutely. Now to the ladder. After 7 rounds of competition, we don't have any more unbeaten teams as a result of East Perth's win, but Claremont still remain on top. A game ahead of South Fremantle, then Peel Thunder, East Perth, Perth and Subiaco on 16 points, a game behind. It's starting to get real interesting, but it's in that order on percentage. Then West Coast and East Fremantle a game behind. Swan Districts with 8 points and West Perth still yet to get off the mark. So those teams between 2nd and 8th, it's getting quite interesting.
It is, and anyone's game. So obviously Claremont sit up top, just the one blip in the radar. South Fremantle behind them, and Peel have sort of make a little bit of a surge in recent times, and obviously percentage, as you said, separates a lot of those teams. So it's interesting. Subiaco were in the 5 and they won by 40 points. Now they're out of the 5, so that just tells the story in itself.
It makes for a very exciting competition. There's no doubt about that. Okay, votes time for round 7. I gave 1 vote to Charlie Constable of Perth. He does Charlie Constable things. He racks up possessions for fun, and his grade effect too was a big difference in their win over the West Coast Eagles. 2 votes, Jack Mayo. Now, whenever a forward line, does get a bit congested, he has that chance to free it up, and he was magnificent on the weekend. 3 votes from East Fremantle, Jack Cleaver. What a performance he put up. Over 10 tackles to go with his 30 disposals, was a real pillar in midfield, especially when the chips were down at 3/4 time. 4 votes from Peel's backline, Hugh Davies. What a performance from him. 20 marks, really held down the Bulldogs forward line to virtually nothing for the first 3 quarters. So he was magnificent, but he was just pipped for the top gun this week because the 5 votes go to East Perth's Angus Scott. 30 disposals. He was brilliant in that last quarter. When the game was in the balance, he often got first to the football, put his head down and really worked hard at it. He was magnificent. Definitely the difference in the end for East Perth in that win over Claremont. So Angus Scott gets the 5.
Yeah, some good votes there. And Angus got to be pretty happy with that one, and win to complement it.
Certainly will. And East Perth, they'll be smiling all around too. The leaderboard after 7 rounds of competition, it's still Bailey Rogers in the lead on 10 votes, but Jack Cleaver's leaped up to 2nd. Lockie Tardrew in 3rd. Angus Scott on 4, in 4th place. And then also on 5 votes, Charlie Dean, Hamish Brayshaw, Jarvis Pena, Mitch Schofield. And then on 4, the Subiaco duo of Stephen Gyro and Ben Sokol. So again, it's starting to get very interesting as we're a third of the way through the season.
Yeah, good mix there of mid and forwards making their run for it as well. So, it could be anyone's game. And, obviously mids get a lot of the votes, but players both back and forward putting their hand up as well.
Absolutely, and that's why the leaderboard is very, very close, no doubt about that. Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we do come back, Ethan's Colts report, and we're going to be speaking with Brooke Edwards from East Perth, the match winner on Saturday on the last kick of the day, no less, against Peel Thunder. We'll chat to her about that and more, and also recap all the WAFL W action as round 8 came to an end on Sunday. This is Around the WAFL, your Monday night recap show. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you. Back with more after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the WAFL.
Valentine roads and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick to kick at every break. The WAFL is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the WAFL on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
It's Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle, your Monday night recap show. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you, bringing you all the action from an exciting weekend of Waffle football. Waffle W and the Colts report coming up in just a little bit, but we're going to be joined by our next guest, who was the match winner on Saturday at Lane Group Stadium against Peel Thunder, and East Perth getting their second win of the season. She also backed up that winning goal with 25 hitouts in the ruck. Brooke Edwards is good enough to join us here on Around the Waffle. Hello, Brooke.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on the show. Now, let's go to that goal. Did you know that was the last kick of the day? Did you have a glance at the clock after you kicked that goal, or were you just getting yourself set up for another possible centre clearance? What was the feeling?
I think I definitely knew that we didn't have a lot of time left. I wasn't sure quite how much, but yeah, we definitely knew we were in the dire kind of stage of the game there. So, yeah, it was really good.
And how many times have you watched the goal back?
I've only watched it a couple of times. I'm in the middle of doing lots of uni studies, so I've been really busy. But, yeah, it was definitely a good feeling.
And what's your, I guess, balance been like this season between forward and ruck? Obviously, Paul's just said 25 hit-outs then, but also hitting the scoreboard. So how you sort of, how's your role adapted so far this year?
Yeah, it's been definitely quite challenging. I played 3 games down in forward when we had Liz McGrath from the Eagles. She came and played for those games in the ruck. So I had to kind of change my game, which was a great challenge, I think, for me to kind of learn a bit more about how the forward line works. And I hadn't spent a lot of time down there, so it was a good experience. But I definitely do prefer to be back running in the ruck.
And that experience that having the likes of Liz McGrath and AFLW listed players, does it, give the younger players in particular in that East Perth list a lot of confidence to learn from some of those that are at the level above?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really great experience for me to have her down there. She was really good at offering advice and support for me because, yeah, of course, we don't have heaps of experience. We are quite a new team, quite a few young girls that are coming through. So it was really nice to have someone at that professional level who was, able to help us out. It was really good. And
you've shown that you've been able to match it with teams, maybe not 4 quarters all the time, but on this occasion you got the job done over Peel. So the belief must be growing, and I guess the wins only add to that level of confidence.
Yeah, we are definitely working on, that's probably one of our biggest challenges. It has been for the last couple of years, is being able to play 4 quarters out, our brand of footy. I think it was great to get another win just to instill a bit more confidence in the girls coming up against West Perth this week. So, we definitely needed that win, I think.
Now, you go on to Saturday night, the Perth Derby against West Perth. Always a tough challenge. And West Perth also on the rebound themselves, coming off a loss to Perth on the weekend. How are you going to prepare yourselves for that challenge against the Falcons on Saturday night in a derby that is set to be full of fire?
I think it's just about backing ourselves in. I think we struggle with that sometimes, obviously not always getting the wins on the board. We've kind of put in some different processes about goal setting and reflecting on the positives that we have kind of been working towards within our game and our style. So I think just, looking back on those and, understanding that we are actually improving as a side, even if we aren't getting consistent wins on the board. I really back our process and our girls, so it will just be getting in that right headspace prior to.
Brooke, we really appreciate your time here on Around the Waffle. Congrats on the win. You're certainly going to be a hero in the black and blue after that winning goal. All the best on Saturday night in the Perth Derby.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
That was Brooke Edwards from the East Perth Football Club chatting to us here on Around the Waffle. Big win it was too for the Royals in the end by only a single point. Recap the Waffle W action in just a moment. But Rothy, Colts report time. Round 7 of the EGT Waffle Colts done and dusted. And you were down at lathlain for Perth and West Perth dominant all throughout the second half.
Yeah, they had 3 notable key contributors in the end. Taj Baraclough, 36 disposals and a walloping 19 marks. Luca Boxer, also 36 disposals, the co-captain, who kicked a goal as well. Blake Jones, 35 and a goal. So those 3 led the way. And Perth were with them for majority of the first half, and then it was just the second half where they fell off. We know they're a young, developing side, and and West Perth really took them to the sword.
What about Peel Thunder and South Fremantle? South Fremantle started well, but they took their foot off the gas in the second half and let Peel back in.
Yeah, Peel have been much improved ever since they got that first game. We're obviously on the call for this one, and South Fremantle got the bulk of the work done, but credit to Peel for firing back, and South Fremantle would want to close out the games a bit better than that, but another win that they've notched up.
Zach Godwin in particular, his acceleration down midfield, just the way he took the ball from defence into attack in the first half, magnificent. He's going to be one to watch.
Yeah, really coming into his own. He was only one of two players last year to play every game in their Colts Grand Final run as a bottom major, so another year under his belt and really leading the way and shows his pace throughout the middle of the ground most often than not.
Claremont had another big win, this time over East Perth on the Saturday, and again it was all down to a strong engine room.
Yeah, Charlie Anning 26 disposals, Gabriel Giltro 26 as well. East Perth had their moments, but Claremont trying to find that balance between PSA guys coming in and out, but for the most part it's working, so another win for them.
And finally, Swan Districts and Subiaco. Swan Districts, they took their foot up into first gear and never looked back against the Lions.
Yeah, Swan Districts, they looked a class above for majority of the day, led by Jai Debono, co-captain, also LeBron Yaron with 4 goals, 16 disposals to match, Cooper Dudfield 3 goals as well. Tom Clements was probably the standout for Subiaco, but it was a day that they'd rather forget.
Yeah, Swan Districts, they looked A+, no doubt about that. Big WA Day weekend in the Colts competition. What does round 8 have in store?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look past the South Fremantle, East Fremantle game. You know, they've been the best couple of teams along with Claremont, of course, the last couple of years, and urge a lot of people to stay around after the league game being a 4 o'clock one. That's the one that I'm really circling on the Monday. I think we could find out a lot about both teams there.
Should be a big round, no doubt about that. Starting off with Swan Districts and Perth on the Saturday, along with Subiaco and Claremont, and then the Monday derbies as well. You can see all the Colts action live on the WAFL YouTube channel, and we can't wait for it. It's going to be a ripper. Let's get into the WAFL W action for round 8 of the ATCO WAFL W season. We talked with Brooke Edwards a little earlier, but East Perth, they had to do it again like they did in round 1. They had to come from behind to beat a shocked Peel Thunder. This time, it was only by a point.
Yeah, 2 from 2, aren't they, Ooh. East Perth? So that's something to hang their hat on. And they Lucy Greenwood followed up a good form. Even if she didn't hit the score, a little bit inaccurate, but 23 disposals, 6 tackles as well. So the players rose around her.
I like their grit and desperation, East Perth. They're noticeably a younger side, but obviously they were without McGrath, who's obviously gone over to the West Coast Eagles pre-season in the AFLW. But the fact that they were able to mature so well as a side and show their grit against a desperate Peel Thunder, who were in it in the second half because they only scored 1 goal up to half-time, it really goes to show that East Perth are slowly getting there.
They are. And small steps, but nothing like a win for these girls. So, Peel Thunder will be disappointed, but Chloe Wrigley, I thought, as she always is, led the way. 32 disposals, 8 tackles as well. So, it feels like we're saying it, broken record, probably just needs a bit more support around her.
Yeah, absolutely. Summer Mulross, in the meantime, I thought Summer Mulross was brilliant for East Perth as well. 19 disposals, laid 7 tackles. And you're looking at the tackle count, 59 to 57, rather evenly matched in that area. But the physicality shown by both sides, very impressive.
Yeah, it was. And sometimes just because it's a low-scoring game doesn't mean the quality's bad. It's just obviously neck and neck as it was. It was a classic finish in the end.
Do you think East Perth can get better after this win? Do you think they can show more signs of their potential? Because, they've got a young playing group, young coaching staff, but they can get more experience out of them.
Yeah, I think they can. I think it just comes down to having realistic expectations. Like, they're probably not going to go on and play finals or go deep. And not saying they should have that attitude, but I think, it's just about celebrating the small wins and those positives, even if they don't come out with the results that they want.
Great win by East Perth by a single point in the closest match of the round. This one was also close. Perth and West Perth down at Mineral Resources Park, but it turned into the Poppy Stockwell show. She kicked 7 goals as Perth got one of their best wins of the year, defeating West Perth by 11 points, 9-2 to 6-9. Poppy Stockwell, she's picking up where she left off from the state game.
Yeah, she had a breakout performance in the state game, particularly when the game was up for grabs, and then she's transferred that into here. And to be fair, she's been doing it for Perth the majority of the season. I know she kicked 3 goals for the week before that, but she tied up her accuracy to only kick the one behind to go with 7 disposals. Had the 7 goals, should say, 12 disposals, and they just found her. They go after her so much, and really has a great balance of aerial work, but then also can do her own roving at ground level.
So is Molly Warren as well. Her ruck work continues to get better. 37 hitouts against the West Perth ruck stock that were lacking a lot of depth, and Molly Warren exposed that to great effect. 37 disposals. Okay, only had the 7 disposals to follow up, but her athleticism and her aerial work in that pure tap-out ruck role, I thought is brilliant.
Yeah, she made the full use of Nokara Zejalewski out with State 18's duties, so keeping that in mind. But yeah, she was really the premier ruck and got on top, gave first use to the likes of Shannon and Baldwin as well as Britton as well. So yeah, it was a day to remember.
Wasn't Shannon sensational? She's just continuing to to rack up these disposals. 6 marks to go on with as well and 5 inside 50s. I reckon some Dara-Kerr medal votes will be on the way for her.
Yeah, last year's runner-up, and I think she's got a real good balance of being able to play forward. We saw in the state game she was playing as a permanent forward and still made an impact there. So she's not one-dimensional. Just because she gets a lot of disposals, she can be put in a lot of other areas, most notably front of centre.
They've challenged the likes of Claremont, Subiaco and West Perth, who have been contenders in past few years. Do you think Perth can be a surprise packet for the 4? I reckon they can. Yeah. I reckon they can be a surprise packet with the development they're showing, the experience of a former premiership coach. They're getting better week in, week out, and they're showing that they can take it to the top sides.
Yeah, a lot of people tipped them, didn't they? And we spoke with Polly Stockwell, said there was a bit of expectation around them this year, but I think they'll just continue to go week by week at this stage. But no doubt, it's a nice bucket list thing to remove a team like West Perth.
Nokara Zejalewski, as you mentioned, that left their engine room rather exposed. They were missing a key cylinder, and it showed. I mean, only one player got 20 or more disposals. That was Madison Dodd, who got an even 20. Other than that, the midfield did not function that well. Okay, they got to within 11 points, but I feel, judging by how Perth controlled the game, the margin could have been a bit bigger, although they had 15 less inside 50s.
It's one of those ones where we don't want to read too much into it, but you think about Subiaco last year when they didn't have their State 18s players, and West Perth could be similar this year. No Nicholson, no Zejalewski, no Strachan, no Nelson. Like, the list really does continue. So not saying that's the case, but yeah, and it clearly would be because they're such talented players, but they need to be able to find those other players because it's a big period that they will be out for.
Speaking of Subiaco, they were shell-shocked as well. They were inaccurate against East Fremantle at the Good Grocer Park. 2 goals, 12. He's not going to win you many games of football, and East Fremantle made sure of that. They're starting to become the quiet achievers. They won another close one at home, this time by 5 points on Saturday night, 4-5 to 2-12. East Fremantle going under the radar. They're currently within the top 2.
Yeah, we were both sort of pretty standoffish in terms of the pre-season and talk about Perth exceeding expectations. I think East Fremantle have done that. Yeah,
I'd say exceeding them.
Yeah, quite easily now, and a good win over Subiaco. They're loving the night games at Good Grocer Park as well. It's becoming a bit of a fortress for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Good Grocer Park under lights. The opposition are really finding it hard to tackle the likes of East Fremantle under lights, and especially with Amber Kinane finding some great form. 23 touches, 25 hitouts to Brooke Repacholi in the ruck, and up forward they didn't have as many options in front of goal, but they had Angelique Grayson who kicked 2. We spoke to her a few weeks ago here on Around the Waffle, but their backline was terrific. They worked really hard. The contested ball was there to be won. East Fremantle were very desperate in the end, and especially in those final few minutes when Subiaco tried to pepper the goals.
Absolutely, and they wore the pink Guernseys as well for breast cancer awareness, which was really good to see. And they footy matched it as well. They held Subiaco goalless in the first quarter. And then goalless in the third quarter as well.
And in the fourth, let's mustn't forget as well. I mean, Subiaco, they had their chances, but you got to convert on them. You've got to convert on them. 2 goals, 12 isn't going to win you many games unless your opposition kicks just as worse. But East Fremantle were anything but that. It was their pressure football that was terrific. Having said that, Steen again, magnificent with 26, continues to rack 'em up. Petrevsky with 21. Sian Bosic had a bit of a quieter affair. She only had 10. And Annabelle Johnson, I thought that was one of her better games. 21 disposals, 4 marks and 4 tackles. But East Fremantle, they just got the better of them in the contested ball, plain and simple.
Yep, they did. And Dave Ames is really building something down there. They're saying just because we're young doesn't mean we can't do special things this season, and they're certainly on their way. So bit of work to do, but East Fremantle reminding why they've been a real juggernaut of this competition right by Claremont in the recent years.
More youth in the side equals a little more hunger as well, and we saw that with East Fremantle winning by 5 points over Subiaco. But this one wasn't a close affair. The grand final rematch, Rothy, you were there at Steel Blue Oval. We anticipated it to be a much more closer struggle, but Claremont completely turned the tables. Cast your mind back to round 1. They were only held to a goal. Then, some 7 weeks later, Swans were only held to a goal, but what a performance by Claremont to respond from the round 1 shellacking, 6-7 to 1-4. What a statement by Claremont.
Yeah, it was a bit of deja vu on the flip side, wasn't it? That round 1 game where Claremont scored the first goal and then it was all Swans. But yeah, it wasn't. Claremont did score the first goal through Jamie Harkin, but then Swans only got one back through Ash Sharp. They restricted pretty well, and it was just a total performance from the team. You look at every player, they played their role right from the top, right down, whether it be winning the ball like Juliet Kelly, Jamie Harkin, Rupert Sargent-Wilson, or playing the more of the pressure like Emma Henderson and company did. So yeah, Claremont obviously would have been pretty hungry after losing a game to East Fremantle before the state game bye, and then coming back with those players fresh, and then also the players that did play in the state game transferring that form into this one.
The perfect response, wasn't it, after that loss to East Fremantle a couple of weeks ago? And they had a bit of extra motivation. Rachel Ortlip, her 150th game, a massive milestone, no doubt about that. After the game, I was there at the ground like you and spoke to Ruby Sargent-Wilson about that milestone. Here's what she had to say.
We were all so excited for Rach. 150 league games is an amazing achievement, and she's such a strong leader in our group, and yeah, she just kind of binds the group together. So it was really exciting to be a part of that game with her, and I know all the girls got around her and can recognise how big of an achievement this is. And yeah, wish she got a goal to top it off, because that would have been great for her, and she very much deserved it. But yeah, like I said, it's such a great achievement, and we're all really excited to be around her for that.
Well, there she is, Ruby Sargent-Wilson, a milestone that meant a lot to the club. They were singing songs for her, that milestone game. It was just incredible. And that speaks volumes about how united they are as a club, and they transfer it into their football, and they show that to great effect on Sunday.
Yeah, and they represented their long-standing captain really well, obviously. 150 games, and Bess and Ferris in there, 3-time premiership captain, scored all goals in the grand finals, and yeah, obviously played a little bit at the Coastal Titans and Subiaco before, but a great achievement nonetheless, and yeah, they sent her out in the way that she wanted.
Yeah, Jamie Henry had her quietest game by a long shot with 22 touches, had 11 tackles, but she was the only one that really went along with the contest, and neither of the likes of Sharp, Baker, Edwards could offer that support. They were just outgunned, outclassed, and outpaced all day.
Yeah, and it was interesting. They had 6 changes, which is quite unique for a team that's undefeated. Of course, injuries playing a part, but they had 2 or 3 debutants, which you probably don't see too much from an undefeated team. So, of course, good exposure for those players. But Swans, as we sort of typically say, maybe a loss isn't the worst thing, because you can sort of start afresh and they still sit top of the ladder.
Absolutely, they do. 1 game ahead of Claremont as we go to the ladder. There it is, Swan Districts and Claremont, the top 2. But East Fremantle have jumped up into 3rd place on percentage. Then a game behind is Subiaco. But half a game out of the 4 is Perth. Who saw that coming? South Fremantle, then West Perth, East Perth and Peel Thunder make up the bottom half of the ladder. Votes time, Rothy. Who have you cast for the Round 8 Player of the Year votes?
1 vote. I've gone Molly Warren from Perth. As we said, her numbers were unreal in the ruck. She gets the 1 vote. 2 votes. Player you said you spoke to after the game, Ruby Sargent-Wilson from Claremont. Yeah, did a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of winning the ball and gave them a lot of run and drive off half back and throughout the midfield. She's adapted to WAFL footy really seamlessly off the back of a state game debut. Chloe Wrigley from Peel, thought she carried Peel as she often does in an unfortunate loss for them. Juliet Kelly, 4 votes from Claremont. She's starting to climb the leaderboard now, as you'll say, but yeah, she's really showcasing why there was talks of her going to the next level, and I still think she can take that step. And then how can we go past Poppy Stockwell for 5 votes, 7 goals, and yeah, the informed forward at the moment, really making a play for the Joanne Huggins Award.
No doubt about it. She's picking up where she left off in that state game win a couple of weeks ago. Great selections from you, Rothy. Let's go to the leaderboard as it stands after round 8. Jamie Henry still holds the lead despite not polling for the first time this year, not including the bye. Paige Shepherd in second place on 12 votes, but the leaderboard's starting to take shape. Juliet Kelly on 9 votes. Noah McNaughton, who we won't see again this year, with 8 votes, and then Ruby Sargent-Wilson with 7. Poppy Stockwell's into the leaderboard for the first time. So is Chloe Wrigley, then Amber Kinane, Sarah McKinnon, and Beck Anderson, the top 10 in the Player of the Year votes. Great work by you, Rothy, as always. We'll take one final break, and when we come back, the top 3 plays of the week. The highlights of the highlights after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the WAFL.
Valentine roads and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick to kick at every break. The WAFL is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the WAFL on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you. And we're wrapping up our Monday recap show like we always do with the top 3 plays of the week. The highlights of the highlights. Starting with number 3, Rothy. You were there at Steel Blue Oval. What a goal from the Noble Steed during the first half.
Absolutely. Kept a couple and, just a pleasure to see him in his draft year, do what he's doing. And I think his stocks continue to rise.
How is that goal? On the run, Leo Steed. Well, they don't call him the Noble Steed for nothing. How about you fire up a bowl for the Steed, folks, because he is going to tear it up later on in the season. Number 2, Tom Graham, inside 50. Big mark, big goal. Sealed the deal for the Royals, spoiling the Tigers party.
Yeah, just about summed it up. And, memorable day for him. Memorable day for the club as well, knocking off the undefeated Claremont. So, hopefully it's a good sign of things to come for the Royals from here on out.
Starting to find some form at the right time is Tom Graham, but there's only one. Realistically, come on, there's only one. Friday night in Mandurah, Tom Ward. Let's just say he pulled off a Friday night special.
Complimented by your call as well.
Please.
I think that definitely adds to it, and your humble self will dismiss that. But no doubt, it was a great highlight. And, of course, they didn't win the game, but, that gave them a real spark as they pushed South Fremantle right to the end.
Someone asked me, by the way, who was that going for the handball? It was James Money. Let's just say he made the right purchase. There's no doubt about that. But Tom Ward's the number 1 play of the week. Rothy, great work as always, and I believe you're calling the Fremantle Derby for the women's side of the competition on Friday night.
Yeah, it should be a ripper. I've done this game a few times now, so sets up a real long weekend, obviously on the Friday night, and then full weekend going into that respective fixture in the men's on Monday, along with the Royals and the Falcons game. So always a memorable weekend of the long weekend. So looking forward to seeing how it all plays out.
Great work, Rothy, as always. Enjoy the long weekend, and I'll see you on the Tuesday for our recap show, because all the big matches are on Monday. All the best.
Thanks, Paul. See you next week.
Viewers and listeners, we thank you so much for your company here on Around the Waffle. Just a reminder, our next recap show will be on the Tuesday, as the big matches on WA Day fall on the Monday, and we'll keep you right up to date with all around the weekend. It's going to be an exciting weekend of football. It's all thanks once again to Grant's Car Stereo, District Promotions, Sullivan Logistics, and Front Row Screen Sports. And you can check us out on our socials, Facebook and Instagram. We look forward to your company on Thursday when we preview the massive WA Day weekend, one of the great weekends in the WA football calendar. We'll see you then.